Good afternoon. My name is Mutembo Nchito. I am a Christian and a Zambian lawyer based in Lusaka, Zambia, Southern Africa, where I practice as a commercial lawyer. I have been asked to give a testimony about how the Lord led me to a position where I became Director of Public Prosecutions in my country and participated in prosecuting some important cases involving grand corruption. I would like to discuss the subject maybe under three basic questions. Why did I do it? How did I do it? And what difference do I think it made? I have been a member of my church, Lusaka Baptist Church, since the late 80s. Specifically, I've been attending the same church since 1985, when I was in secondary school, and then went to university, where I graduated as a lawyer. And one of the passions that I always had was I wanted to live as a Christian in whatever I did. And I always didn't know what that meant in any particular situation, but I just thought that as a Christian, you should do what is right in any given situation. And that meant that when I practiced law, I was going to be a Christian. Wherever I was, my identity as a Christian was important. And for me, this is a crucial point that we need to underline, that the church as the church may not be able to participate actively in many causes that affect the welfare of society. But its members, the people that it produces, the people that it evangelizes, are going to be the spearheads, if you like, for social engagement and doing what is right. And this is something that I felt very keenly. And in 2001, there was a crisis in my country as a result of the government at the time not respecting our constitution, and the president who was then leading us wanted to stay on in power in contravention of the constitution. And many people came together to oppose that, and even church organizations participated, Christians participated, and I found myself advising people who were at odds with the government, and then I started receiving information about the level of corruption that was there in the system, which explained why our then president did not want to leave power. And the Anti-Corruption Commission in my country was trying its best to prosecute those cases, but they were not able to, primarily because there were no lawyers prepared to stand with them. So I offered my services together with some of my partners in the firm to do that pro bono, and we started out fighting those cases. That led the Anti-Corruption Commission to asking us to join their team of prosecutors over the next 10 years, and we prosecuted quite a number of cases that involved very high-profile individuals in our government at the time. I ended up prosecuting myself, two of our former presidents, the army commander, an Air Force commander, and a chief of intelligence. So it was dangerous work, but somehow I felt within me that the Lord had prepared me for that work through the many interactions that I had had as a young lawyer, and also the fact that I had a clear sense of call within me that somehow the Lord wanted me to do this, and He would prepare me, He would protect me, He would give me the resources that I needed to do that work. We did it with reasonable success, but it was not without consequences on myself. In 2011, we had a new government that came into power, and the president then asked me to become director of public prosecutions, because when I had been prosecuting before, I was prosecuting as a private lawyer, hired by the Anti-Corruption Commission to help them prosecute cases. I was then asked to take a formal role within the public sector and become director of public prosecutions, which is the chief prosecutor in our country. So that opened me to more risk and attacks. I was a constant target of all kinds of conspiracy theories and attacks in the newspapers, and character assassination, which is something that I had to accept for the role that I was playing. But more fundamental, I always got the sense that things were not always going to work my way. And anybody who has worked in the area of anti-corruption will tell you that corruption fights back. And I knew that the people that I had been prosecuting, the cases that I had been handling, would bring consequences for myself. So in 2014, the president who had hired me unfortunately passed away. His successor seemed to have struck a deal with one of his predecessors who I was prosecuting at the time for corruption. And the deal was to the effect that they must make sure that I left the office of Director of Public Prosecutions, so that the case would collapse. And they didn't care what means they were going to use for that purpose. So they trumped up charges against me, and had me arrested at one point, and then dragged me through a tribunal, claiming that I had done all kinds of things that I hadn't done, including that I had planted drugs on some suspects, something that a person who did the kind of work that I did would never be involved in anyway. You don't handle evidence to that minute detail. But they didn't care. They didn't let facts or the truth get in the way of their story. They just wanted to get rid of me, and they managed to get rid of me through that tribunal. The interesting thing is, as a person going through that process, I was entitled to be given their findings. It's 10 years now. No one has been prepared to give me the report of the tribunal that sat to determine my suitability for office. So I was unjustly removed from office after having served about 5 years as Director of Public Prosecutions. I wasn't perturbed myself, and I didn't let it concern me too much, because I knew that in fighting corruption fights back, and it was doing what I expected it to do. And I was grateful to the Lord that in the time that I had to do what I needed to do, I did my work to the best of my ability. I have every confidence that in my work I was diligent. I was fearless, if I can say that for myself, and I did the best that one was expected to do. What difference did I make? We changed the narrative in the country to the extent that now people generally know that nobody is above the law, not even the president of the country. So even the president of the country working now knows that if they break the law, a time of reckoning does come, and therefore they should try and do their work in the best way possible. But also, there is more awareness about corruption issues. Remember, it's not just former presidents that we prosecuted. We prosecuted military commanders, chief of intelligence. I also prosecuted in that time a former minister of finance and the bureaucratic head of the Ministry of Finance. So we set up a political culture that has continued to an extent that people in authority should know that they will be held to account if they don't do what is right. What was driving me in all this? I could have easily just walked away, or indeed not bothered with the work that I was doing at the time, because, as I said in the beginning, I was a commercial lawyer, and I'm still a commercial lawyer, running a decent practice in my country. I could have simply said, I don't need this headache. I felt the Lord was calling me to do that work for the time that I did it. And I got my fulfillment in knowing that I was doing the Lord's work in that sense. So it is important to encourage Christians to take a stand where God calls them. Thank you.